Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Pazza Podcast. My name is Travis. Please, as a reminder, hit the like and subscribe button if you do not mind, or just leave a comment so we can get a nice little dialogue starting here in the comments. Kind of really the objective and the point of starting this podcast was to just get some interaction. You can see my cat over here. She's going crazy. Get some interaction with the community. It's something I really have never had kind of interaction with other Inter fans all over the world. So really, comment, a like, a subscribe, anything like that would be much appreciated. But yeah, welcome back, guys. We're back with another reaction podcast episode where we are going to look at another Inter victory, this time against Cagliari. It was a big match. Every match from here on out is going to be a big match for the rest of the season. It's a big match because Napoli plays. I'm recording this on Monday. Plays this evening against Empoli, so it was a chance for us to put the pressure on Napoli, going 6 points above now in the league with one game in hand. Them having one game in hand, but it puts the pressure back on Napoli. So this was a big match for Inter, especially after the midweek win over Bayern this past week in the Champions League. A reaction was definitely needed after that. We've seen many times this season after a midweek match, the performances are stale coming out on the weekend after that. So it was a big match for not only Inter, the team, but Inzaghi to show that he can keep these boys motivated, and the rotational players to show that all the criticism that they've been getting this season has not been just. So started out with a semi-rotated lineup: Jan Sommer in goal, Bisek, De Vrij, Carlos Augusto in the back. So you could maybe say that the back three is all backup players. I hate putting De Vrij in that backup player role, but Acerbi has been for the last couple of seasons Inzaghi's first choice center back, regardless of how well De Vrij plays. So yeah, I would say that's all backup center backs right there for us in the back three. Zalewski getting his first start, full debut, I guess, for Inter. Uh, Fratesi, Çalhanoğlu, Barella, and then Di Marco. And then we had Arnautovic, our Lord and Savior, up top with Lautaro Martinez. And it was a first half performance like we've seen the last three match days against Udinese and Parma. Inter came out and showed that they wanted the victory in the first half. Early signs were Inter was going to be the more dominant team, pressing high, winning the ball back high, and doing all the stuff that, like I said, we've seen these last two match days in the first half. And it came with a few chances early on. Lautaro had a big chance. It was one that he was played through. And I think, a lot of people maybe would say he should have tried the pass across to Arnautovic, who was running in the middle of the box, but there was a Cagliari defender right there. He didn't come out and close Lautaro, and he kind of didn't stay too far back. He was perfectly positioned, I would say, maybe right in the middle there, leading to Lautaro having the chance on goal. Don't really blame him for having that chance, considering the position of the defender. Maybe should have done better to put it more on frame, hit the side netting. There's a couple other chances early on, but again, the threat for Inter in that first half, 15 minutes or so, it was a sign that Inter was going to be the one in this first half taking it to the other opposition. And in the 13th minute, it came true. It's a beautiful ball over the top by Çalhanoğlu that found the chest of Carlos Augusto, who, playing that left center back role, was really high up the pitch at this point. You could say maybe it was just a little bit of a straight touch. It hit pretty hard off of his chest, bounced in the path of what seemingly looked like it was going to be Lautaro, but Marko Arnautovic came out of nowhere with his first touch, took him through the defenders, and with his left foot, his weaker foot, struck it with pace into the top of the net. It almost looked like it missed with the way he shot it. Maybe Caprile should have done a little better, the goalkeeper for Cagliari. But it's a goal, and it's Marko Arnautovic. I think it's his fourth goal in the last 5 league matches. You could even just say, the last few matches with big appearances. That Panama match, he only came on with like 5 or 6 minutes left in the match, so that's tough to really put it on him. But he's the on-form striker. He's banging in goals. If you go back when October, November, when only one person was listening or viewing, I was constantly saying Arnautovic is the better of our backup strikers. Taremi, even at that point, hadn't showed me anything other than some preseason matches against Lugano. You know, Correa, we know he's not good. Arnautovic had the qualities. I've been a big Arnautovic guy, and I'm glad to see that he's paying us back. It looks like he's comfortable in his role. He's accepted the position of a leadership role, and he knows that he's got to put. If you're going to be the leader and you're going to criticize others, which we see on the pitch a lot, his body movement, his vocality, you've got to back it up with performances, goals, and that's what he's doing. And it's great to see Arnautovic repaying Inzaghi, us the fans, and honestly himself. He looked a shell of himself after that Atleti game last year, and in the past couple months, he's definitely put it behind him, and he's back in form. And this is what we need for the rest of the season. Having a player like this that can come in and guarantee you, it seems like almost a goal, a match each appearance, it's going to be huge for rotational if we go further in the Champions League and the Coppa Italia. Having a player like Marco Arnautovic bagging goals for us and everything, it's huge. Again, are we going to say Arnautovic is, Turam, Lautaro? No. But right now, he's our on form striker. And we need each league match where we're rotating after a midweek match. We need to have Arnautovic in the game playing. And I wish he would get more than 55, 60 minutes, maybe 70, 75 for whatever reason. Inzaghi doesn't play him that long, but he's getting goals in this limited amount of minutes he's had, which is more than we can say for any other backup striker we have. So shout out to Arnautovic, Lord Arna, our Father who art in heaven, Lord Arnautovic be thy name. Maybe if he continues these performances, we can knight Arnautovic and he can be Sir Marco Arnautovic. And hell, maybe he'll even be back for next season. I would not mind him as a fourth striker. Someone maybe Pio Esposito and Castro from Bologna could be our third and fourth options with Arnautovic coming in and doing whatever he needs to do for his last season as a 36-year-old. That'd be great. But yeah, up 1-0, and from there it seemed like we were coasting, but we were pressing so high up the pitch too. We definitely wanted that second goal, and when you press that high up the pitch, you leave yourself exposed. 25th minute, ball over the top from Cagliari. It was their right back. It might have been Zappa, or I think it might have been Zappa over the top. If you watch De Vrij, is way over on the left side of the defense, pressing high up on Piccoli, who is their top striker, their furthest man forward. He is kind of, wouldn't say out of position, but maybe that's somewhere where you want Carlos Augusto to be. Carlos Augusto was even higher up the pitch, playing almost where like DiMarco should have been, and DiMarco was all the way up there pressing Zappa. Bisek, if you watch too, maybe should be coverage over for De Vrij. He is even higher up the pitch than I think Carlos Augusto at that point. And there was a huge gap in between De Vrij and Bisek. Played the ball over the top. Piccoli, he outran De Vrij. De Vrij has never been, known for his speed. Maybe Jan Sommer could have come out a little earlier. He wasn't decisive. They always say if you're not going to go and commit right from the beginning, then don't commit at all for goalkeepers. So I guess if he wasn't ready to commit, it was good that he stayed on his line. Bisek almost made up the ground, but Piccoli had blown past De Vrij, pretty much one-on-one clear on goal. Luckily, Jan Sommer, as he's done the past two match days, comes up with a huge save and keeps it level, or keeps Inter up 1-0. Another big save by Jan Sommer. He's been a great goalkeeper for us these past two seasons. And like the announcer said, I think literally right after that happened, if you don't score, there's something, a lot of times the other team takes advantage. And within a minute, I think it was DiMarco found Arnautovic on that left side, hugging the touchline right in front of Simone Inzaghi. And it was a beautiful one-touch pass, waited perfectly for Lautaro, who had just curled off of that defender and made his run. It was a great one-touch pass by Arnautovic. And maybe Caprile for the goalkeeper for Cagliari should have came out. He didn't. He hesitated, went back first, did what I just said, Sommer, went back first and then tried to commit. At that point, Lautaro had already latched onto it and dinked it over his head. 2-0 Inter. If you watch the replay, Simone Inzaghi, right there, mugs Arnautovic after the pass, and Lautaro scores. Thuram comes out from the bench, starts kicking Arnautovic's ass, and the celebrations. We're having a good time. Inter up 2-0, cruising into the victory. Like, but we have known as Inter fans, 2-0 lead going into half is nothing to hold your hats on. There's always a danger going in. It seems like after this last international break for Inter in the league. 2-0 victories at half are not something you want to have. 43rd minute right before half, though, we'll mention Lautaro had a bicycle chance, an overhead kick that didn't come off. Kind of audacious attempt. I think DiMarco, it was closer to hitting him than it was the goal. So up to, what 2-0 at the half. Like I'd said, normally that's something with Inter. Last year, our defensive record, we shut up shop and the game's over 2-0 at half. The past couple weeks, Udinese and Parma are proof that 2-0 at the half is nothing to hang your hats on. So first half thoughts, Arnautovic and Carlos Augusto. Man, Carlos Augusto had a brilliant first half performance defensively. Going forward, he was literally everywhere. He doesn't offer the same type of dimension and attack as Bastoni does. He offers a different one, more dribbling, more just brute power, strength, athleticism. Bastoni's more of an elegant, think over the top, beautiful passes, whatnot. Carlos Augusto offers a different set of skills going forward, but defensively, he was really great in the first half, too. I think, if Arnautovic wouldn't have scored and had the assist, Carlos Augusto would be our player of that first half by far. Arnautovic, obviously, I think would go on win player of the match, rightfully so, due to his performance attacking wise. But Augusto was huge in that first half. I thought Barella, Lautaro, and De Vrij were also really good. De Vrij, I can't really consider him culpable for that chance for Piccoli. Just got outpaced. Maybe could have been positioned slightly better, but I think he was good. Fratesi, though, and Zalewski, they were the two duds of the first half. Fratesi, again, if he doesn't impact the match by scoring a goal, he really has no other impact on the match. I wrote to my friends in the group message, it's incredible, and you can see how class Çalhanoğlu and Barella are when they're playing alongside Fratesi. He doesn't get a touch, barely makes a pass, doesn't really do anything, and yet Çalhanoğlu and Barella are still controlling and bossing the midfield. It just shows the class that those two have. Zalewski maybe had one. I think he might have had the cross for Lautaro on that bicycle, but other than that, really didn't see him anywhere. Didn't offer anything defensively. Nothing really going forward. His touches were kind of AWOL. Not a really good performance. I put no Pazza Inter, please. We don't need a second half performance. We need a calm, composed second half performance, not like we've seen in the past couple weeks. And what changes will be made with our big midweek match against Bayern in the quarterfinals, second leg? Will we make some big changes to rest players? Second half, though, exactly what we've been talking about after each of the last two league matches. Exactly what I just talked about the last 2 minutes. No Pazza Inter, 2-0 lead, not safe. Why? And praising Carlos Augusto at half, saying he was their best player. He absolutely made a meal of this. I don't think you can blame anybody else but Augusto. Maybe Zalewski. I saw Uncle Sharma saying, maybe he should have closed out a little more. Yeah, Algello had been getting those crosses, though. He's got a good left foot on him to cross those balls in. And he'd been doing it consistently the whole match, even no matter who was at right back, Darmian, whatever. Algello was probably Cagliari's best player. Brilliant ball over the top. Augusto found himself in no man's land. Piccoli kind of peeled off just slightly enough to get into that cleared space in between DiMarco and Augusto, but it was Augusto's player. Header, easy header. Piccoli puts it away 2-1. Now it's back to that Pazza Inter feeling. Why do we do this kind of thing? And we have nobody to blame but ourselves. We came out, again, looking flat going out of the second half. And yeah, it was another what the fuck moment for Inter, and it sucked. I think Carlos Augusto, he came out the worst out of anybody. He had another thing like a minute before this where he lost control of the ball or missed a tackle from them attacking down the right hand side. Luckily, after this, he got his mind right and played the rest of the game really well. But 2-1, and it's shaky in there. You could hear the San Siro, again, like I'd mentioned when I was there for the Udinese match. It got quiet, and that's not what you want from the San Siro. Even the fans can feel like this is not something we need, and it sucked. But luckily, we didn't have to wait too much longer. 8 minutes later, off of a corner, DiMarco crosses it in, and Jan Bisek jumps over Jerry Mina, the villain that is Mina, the antithesis, the douchebag for Cagliari, the one who nut stomped Turam and antagonized Lautaro last match. Bisek comes in and towers over him, heads it clear through Caprile, and it's 3-1 Inter. And at that point, it felt pretty much all but done. There was a huge moment, though. I guess we'll talk about subs. Correa and Arnautovic, or Correa and Darmian came on for Arnautovic and DiMarco. And then we had Turam and Bastoni come on for Lautaro and Zalewski. 78th minute, though, ball somehow found its way into the middle of the box for Inter. It might have came from a Ogello cross again. Piccoli, looking for his brace, has the time in the box to square and shoot. Luckily, De Vrij was aware in his positioning. The best thing about De Vrij, that's what he has over Acerbi. Acerbi has physicality, strength, grinta. De Vrij, more finesse, positioning, going to beat you with his positioning rather than beat you up. And goal line clearance, header off the goal line, essentially. Game saving, maybe not game saving, but this really could have put the pressure on Inter. The crowd would have definitely started murmuring and getting antsy. And it was a huge play from Stefan De Vrij. Again, it sucks that he is our backup center back. Acerbi is great as well. I think it's 1A, 1B, essentially. It just depends on what Inzaghi sees. Against a Holland or a Kane, I think when there's one striker up there, perfect match for Acerbi to put them in his pocket. When there's two, or maybe more of a drop-off striker, I think De Vrij is perfect for his positioning, his awareness, his tactical. It's doesn't matter who you put in there. I think Inter is in safe hands. So well done, De Vrij. The defending definitely needed to be better there. And then we had Aslani come on for Çalhanoğlu in like the 82nd minute to kind of shore things up. One thing I did see, there was a moment where I think Thuram was tracking back and lost the ball close to our box. He ended up getting the ball back, but if you watch the replay of Simone Inzaghi on the sideline there, for whatever reason, he's yelling, and then he just takes his jacket off. It's like wiggling out in the middle of the field. And then like 30 seconds later, he gets his composure back and puts it back on. And watching Dimone Inzaghi on the sideline is one of my favorite things. This game was no shortage of highlights of Inzaghi on the sideline. He is very colorful and very awesome to see on the sideline. But full-time thoughts, why do we always concede in the second half and let teams come back into the match and the league play? It's something, I think fatigue plays a huge factor. As much as these guys are professional players and we like to say they're not looking ahead, obviously in the back of their minds has to be Bayern and, Milan and the Coppa Italia. It's just human nature. You can't say it's not. I would like to say it isn't, but that's got to be, I think fatigue's a huge factor. And I mean, you got to think Inzaghi too probably tells these guys at half, like, guys, let's short up. Let's make sure we don't give anything away. And then we'll get some substitutions. And maybe maybe he shouldn't even say we're going to sub you guys out or something like that. I'm just speculating. And something's got to change there. But it doesn't matter the lineup we have. It seems like regardless of who we have in, there's something that isn't clicking there to start second half. So we need to shore that up for the rest of the season. Only, I think, 6 match days left in the league. So this is important, maybe 7. Good performance to end on, though. We ended up scoring that goal with Bisek. Other than that chance for Piccoli that De Vrij saved off the line, very good performance from Inter. Arnautovic, I've said it for the past few weeks. I feel like a proud dad watching him. Man of the match. He's reassured Inter fans that he can be counted on. I'm so glad that I was right in calling for him to be our third striker many months ago. Taremi just doesn't have it. Correa has never had it for Inter. Arnautovic is somebody we're going to rely on for the rest of the season, and he needs to keep coming up big, not only with goals, assists, hold up play, all this stuff. Needs to be our big third striker for the rest of the season. You know, when we made it to the finals of the Champions League a few years ago, a lot of people, talked about Lula, Lautaro, and Lukaku. It was actually Lautaro and Dzeko that were starting every match, and Lukaku was the one coming off the bench, providing an impact towards that late season push. That's what Arnautovic is going to have to do for the rest of the season. I'd like to see him get more minutes in Champions League and Coppa Italia. It seems like he's only getting 50 minutes every league match. But I don't think Inzaghi thinks he has a full 90 or even a full, 2 matches in his legs for the rest of the season. So Inzaghi will trust you. It's worked out perfectly. He's getting goals and assists in the league, so that's fine. Carlos Augusto and De Vrij were other shouts for man of the match for me. I think they played huge. Fratesi, I don't know what else to do with this guy. He's scored big goals in the last few weeks, but he's also, whenever he doesn't score, he provides absolutely nothing. And today was no difference. Him and Zalewski, I think, were the two duds of the match. Even Correa, I saw somebody on sempreinter.com. They had a report that was saying that Correa had a good performance. I didn't see anything that showed me he had a good performance. These three top duds of the match. We need more impact from Fratesi, but I don't think we're going to get it. Zalewski, I don't know. I'm not a fan of him. Don't think we should redeem him, although just for $6 million. He doesn't do anything for me. I think there's better options out there. And then we got coming up next, Bologna up next. It's at home, I think, luckily, which is huge. Bologna just slipped up and lost 2-0 to Atalanta. So maybe they're finally off that form that they've been on for a while, which is big for Inter. They've been a team that we've struggled with over the past few meetings with them. We need to put that behind us. They play three in the back. That sometimes is tough for us to match up with. So hopefully we come in coming off of a big match week against Bayern midweek. We need the 3 points, especially Napoli has Empoli and Monza the next 2 matches. Empoli today, Monza next week. Empoli might be a tougher one than Monza, just how Empoli started the season, but Monza should be an easy victory for Napoli. So we have to get all 3 points against Bologna. Going to be a huge match. We'll see how it goes. Big matches throughout the rest of the season, guys. Every match is a final. In theory, I think we have 6 league matches, potentially 2 more Coppa Italia matches, and 4 more Champions League matches if we make it to the finals and all of these things. So we're looking at roughly about 12 matches left, 12 finals. Let's win all out and let's get the triplete. It would be a dream. It would be, after this season's gone and how, up and down it's been. A lot of people, I've said this over the past few months, this is a proper title race. This isn't a runaway like our last Serie A victory. We haven't had a proper title race really in a long time in Serie A even itself. And this is what it feels like. If you remember the treble winning season, 09-010, us and Roma back and forth. Roma were leading the Serie A the good part of that middle half of that season, that campaign. Our Champions League, group stages wasn't the best for Inter. I think we qualified on the last day. A couple of our matches in the Coppa Italia were suspect too. It's not about the performance; it's about the results. I know we want to see with Dimone, we've been spoiled. We want to see these crazy good results, but it's not about performances. It's about the results. At the end of the season, we're not going to remember if we win the treble, our 2-2 tie with Parma and how shitty that game was, or our 3-2 come from behind victory against Monza where we played like ass. No, we're going to remember we won the treble, the triplete. That's all that matters is results. We got to get the results, guys. Keep supporting the boys. Every result that's positive, keep supporting. Don't look too deep into the the performances. Look at the results. Let's win the Scudetto. Let's win the Champions League. Let's win the Coppa Italia. As always, guys, thanks for the support again. Like, subscribe, comment. And as always, Forza Inter.